So just want to give you guys an update. We had an officer-involved shooting today. Our police officers were in the area following up on an anonymous tip of a wanted homicide offender. They located the individual. The individual began to shoot at them in the area of Jefferson and LaBelle. It was sort of a running gun battle where the individual ran a couple blocks shooting at the officers. We had 3 officers that returned fire. The man fell in the area 1400 block of Cass. He is deceased. It's unclear at this point in time if he is deceased by his own hand or by the shooting with the police officers.
Any officers injured in that?
Fortunately, none of the officers were hit by gunfire.
And we understand this might be you were looking for Patrick Jones in the Tamika Wright homicide?
Right, so we just released information about Patrick Jones being wanted as a homicide defender. He killed Tamika Wright a few months ago actually now, and we've been looking for him, active warrant for him. We're not naming this individual at this time, but I will say we did appreciate all the coverage that the media did provide in getting his name and his image out there to get some anonymous tips. So
but that's who you were searching for when this gun
exactly
battle
right.
happened.
That's correct.
Okay, any idea how many shots he fired?
Numerous shots were fired, and like I said, 3 officers returned fire. We have an extremely long crime scene, over 2 blocks, so we have shell casings, we have spent ammunition, and we don't have a round count at this point in time. Michigan State Police, I know I just walked over, they have come on scene, they have arrived, and they're going to be taking over the officer-involved shooting part of the investigation.
And where did you say this, or the shots were fired? Or
It's so the officers initially encountered this man in the area of Jefferson and LaBelle, and as soon as he made note of the officers, he began firing at those officers. That firing did not stop until the 1400 block of Cass, so it was a very long running gun battle.
So was he in a house? Was he in a car? Did you spot him out on the street? How did that
When the officers encountered him, they encountered him in the alley, I believe. Yeah, so I think, and this is all preliminary, I believe he had come out of a house that we had information on, and he made note of the officers, and that's when this started.
Was he on a bike?
That I don't know. I was down at the crime scene. I saw the area. I did not see a bike. No.
When can people expect to see body camera video of what happened in this incident?
Definitely not today. I know in the past we've been able to do it in one day. I'm hopeful that talking to the Michigan State Police that they'll be okay with it seems pretty cut and dry, so it would be nice to assemble this video and hopefully get it out tomorrow afternoon if logistically we can do it. But now we're not talking just 1 camera, we're talking at least 3 cameras of the officers. So, but I'll just say from commitment for me as soon as possible.
Are you thinking it's self-inflicted? Are you thinking that's a possibility?
I'm thinking that's a real possibility, but until more of the information plays out with the investigation, I won't know for sure.
Well, what makes you think that? I mean, did some of your officers see him put the gun to himself? What makes
right,
you think
the preliminary information, and this is, keep in mind, this is 1400 block of Cass. It's a residential street. It's all homes there. There's a lot of people, and from what I heard, whether it was the officers or a resident there, they thought that it was self-inflicted, but I don't have concrete information at this time.
And how far were the officers away from him when that happened? You know?
That's a good question that I don't know the answer to.
You know what type of weapon the deceased was using?
Yeah, I did see the gun on the scene. It looked to me like a semi-automatic 9mm. Yeah.
And so just for clarification, you received a tip through, was it like Silent Observer?
Exactly right, yeah. Silent Observer tip on a wanted homicide offender.
And that was Patrick Jones, and that's why you were there?
That's what I believe it to be, but we haven't identified him at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the officers, what's the status of those 3 officers? I mean, is it the routine, the administrative leave? How does that work?
That's correct, yeah. So those officers will be on administrative leave as the investigation plays out.
And the state police will conduct that investigation?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Were any homes struck or anything like that?
The officers' squad car was struck numerous times, I saw. And there were so many shots fired by this individual that there's a real chance that there were residences struck as well. And so I do have officers that are doing a full canvass of the area to make sure that there's no other bystanders which were hit also.
Okay, and were the officers like taking cover behind the?
I'm sure they were. I haven't talked to the officers yet. And we're going to let MSP do that initially as well, so we'll get that information, but I don't know the logistics of how it all went down.
And how many officers responded to the tip?
We had numerous officers respond. I think we had probably 6 on scene. Yeah, 3 officers fired.
And was this part of a team that's looking for, wanted suspect?
Yeah, a fugitive team. That's right. That is correct.
Fugitive Task Force, is that the?
That's a good name for it. There's an acronym for it. I think it's a GREAT team, Grand Rapids, and I can't remember the rest, but it's a task force in conjunction with the U.S. Marshals.
A gun battle on the streets of Grand Rapids. What do you think about that?
Extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. And I think I've spoken with you before. Even it looked like a 9mm to me. Those 9mm rounds can go straight through siding. Extremely dangerous.
All right.
Yeah. Fortunate that none of our officers were hit.
How long do you expect this scene to be out here for?
It's going to be a few hours. It's a huge scene, and we want to make sure we get it right, and we want to make sure we do everything that the Michigan State Police wants as well to their specifications, so it's going to be a few hours.
And there was a school closed, a nearby school, from what I understand?
All the area schools, we reached out immediately to GRPS, to their Director of Security and Chief of Staff, and advised them to any schools in the immediate area while it was still a running gun battle to lock everything down, but that was it was just a few moments that ended.
Okay, and how long did this whole thing last?
Start to finish, I'd say maybe 3 minutes. Yeah.
How thankful are you that no officers were hurt?
Extremely thankful no officers were hurt. Extremely thankful that no one on the street is hurt. Like I said, this is a residential area, so the potential is there. And like I said, he was a wanted homicide offender, so he already has. We know he's got the lack of respect for human life, so that was a real concern.
When you make that decision to dismiss the school, can you explain to people why do that?
And it would not be a decision to dismiss the school. It would be a decision to contact the school and to say shelter in place until the police contact you and say that there's nothing else. Because, this guy's mobile. We don't know. He could get on a bike. He could get into a car. He could turn into an active shooter situation or a hostage barricade type situation. So we want to make sure that obviously that the children are safe here.
Was it part of the plan to wait for him to come outside? I mean, as opposed to going inside after a fugitive?
That's right. Well, this was very preliminary. I think probably he made note of the officers outside, and that's why he came out and started shooting. If we had developed information and were able to corroborate it to the point where we could get a search warrant, we would very slowly and methodically set up outside. We'd make announcements over the bullhorn saying, come out, Grand Rapids Police. But it looks like this all just unraveled so quickly that there wasn't time for that.
So was that the home that he came out of, was that his home, or was that like a relative's home? Or
and I don't have the answer to that question at this time. Yeah.
In what home? This was on LaBelle. What street was this home on?
Again, and I'm not. I know it was in the area of LaBelle and Jefferson, but I don't have the house number, and I don't have the house information at this time.
Right.
Yeah.
Were there people on the street when this gun battle was going on?
There may have been. This is a residential block with a lot of people. I'm not sure if there were or not.
Would you encourage people if they were out on the street to?
Certainly a situation like this, gunfire started extremely loudly, and if you ever hear gunfire, always say to get low, get inside, and get low.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay.
Thank you.